Let's talk about creating click tracks. This is one of the most fundamental aspects before you start going into record in Pro Tools. To set up a click track properly, go into your transport with Command numeric 1. Again, I want to stress that's numeric 1. If you see your transport being small or minimal like this, simply click on this menu and choose Expand, as well as choose the MIDI controls. This allows you to go in and turn on and off your metronome. This is your metronome icon. You can also use the numeric 7 key on your keypad in order to turn this on and off. Now I can double click on this in order to pull up my click and count off options. I can also double click on this little 2-bar area, and this allows me to set my count off as well as pulls up my click and count off options. Or I can even go into my setups menu and choose click and count off options. So there's a lot of different ways. Now the 3 options at the top, you're not normally going to change this into only during record or only during count off. The reason is when you have it on during play and record only, this allows you to turn it on and off during play or record with the numeric 7 key. Very useful. Now there's been times when you'll have a click track that happens in a dead space or an area where you don't have any audio going on, and you just don't want that recorded through the headphones or any bleed through. So you want to have that control of turning it on or off anytime you want. So just simply keep that at that point. You can choose your accented or unaccented. What's really nice is that I can actually type it in from a keyboard. So I could say I want it to be here, and I want this one to be on my C. And so I'm literally pushing my keyboard to my right by putting in those values, or you can simply just type them in. Now if I leave this at none, then it will simply automatically use the click plugin. Now in order to create a click track, it's pretty straightforward. You go into the tracks menu, create click track. If I go Command equals to pull up my mixer, you'll see here's my click plugin. Now the presets for my click plugin are all available here. They're fairly obtrusive. And you can see that if I change this into these rhythms, there's a lot of engineers and musicians that really don't like those clicks. Why? They're just very obtrusive. They don't sound natural, and they're very piercing in the headphones, and plus you get a lot of bleed through from them. So I found people like the MPC. This is a decent one to work with, right? And let's say we want to change this to be a different sound. Let's say that we want this to actually be using a keyboard instead. So what we can do is I can go into here and I can choose to have it go out to another keyboard. Or I can even go in and let's say I create a click track by creating an instrument stereo track. I'm going to go into my mixer, pull up my instruments. We're going to go ahead and use Expand 2 for now. And then I'm going to pull up bongo clicks. And once that has been set up on a track, then I can actually go into my click and count off options and choose Expand to use as my click. Notice it's using both this click and this click at the time being. And this is because Pro Tools really doesn't know the difference. It's still sending out to both of them. So you may simply have to go in and just mute that track so you just don't hear that. So you can find there's a lot of different options for creating your own clicks. Now let's say I want to change the tempo now. Well, there's some very cool things that we can do. We can simply click right here and just move our mouse up and down. Or I can highlight it and use the T key on my keyboard to tap it in. Very, very cool. I hit return. I can also go into my preferences and I can go into my MIDI tab and I can choose to use MIDI to tap my tempo in. Before I quit on this, I want you guys to notice one more thing here. I can automatically create a click track on a new session. That could be very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that on for right now. So right now I can highlight this and use my keyboard to tap it in. So this allows me to hit return, and now that's my tempo. So hopefully this helps you guys understand how to create click tracks. Probably the most important thing I can stress about working with clicks is make sure that you set the tempo properly before you go into record. I've been in scenarios with clients where they swear that this particular tempo is what you want, and they go in to record and they find out later the song's too slow or too fast, and it gets really, really messy if you try to go in and change the tempo of the song, where you might end up getting into elastic audio or stretching features, and that really degrades the quality of the production. So if the tempo is set right up front properly, then you'll always be able to keep the audio at its same resolution and maintain the quality throughout the entire production process. So just make sure you're doing that. That's probably one of the most important things you can do when you're first setting up a session for a client or for yourself. All right, have fun.